Dear friends, good morning. Today we will discuss about first unit metabolic pathways in higher plants and their determination. What is metabolism? Metabolism means the totality of the chemical changes in living cells which involves the build-up and breakdown of chemical compounds. In another language called catabolism and anabolism. Catabolism means breakdown of the larger molecules into smaller ones, and built up means to develop or to synthesize new molecules from these small molecules. Metabolism mainly includes primary metabolism and secondary metabolism. Primary metabolism involves biosynthesis, utilization, and breakdown of the essential compounds and structural elements of the living organisms, such as sugars, polysaccharides, amino acids, peptides, and proteins, fatty acids, and nucleosides. The starting materials are CO2, H2O, and NH3. All organisms possesses similar primary metabolic pathways and use similar primary metabolites. What is about secondary metabolism? It refers to the biosynthesis, utilization, and breakdown of smaller organic compounds found in the cells. These compounds called secondary metabolites, they arise from a set of intermediate building blocks: acetyl coenzyme A, mevalonic acid, and methyl erythritol phosphate, shikimic acid, and the amino acid phenylalanine, tyrosine, tryptophan, ornithine, and lysine. So all these are the intermediate compounds. From these intermediate compounds, a number of secondary metabolites are to be synthesized in the plant body. What is about a relationship between primary and secondary metabolism? The processes and products of primary metabolism are similar in most organisms, while those of secondary metabolisms they are more specific. In plants, primary metabolism is made up of photosynthesis, respiration using carbon dioxide, water, and ammonia as starting materials, and forming products such as glucose, amino acids, nucleic acids. These are similar among different species. So, all of you know proteins, carbohydrates, lipids. So, all these are made up of these raw materials or these types of the uh, ingredients or the components like CO2, H2O, ammonia, as they are inorganic constituents from which primary metabolites are mainly synthesized. Examples: proteins, carbohydrates, lipids, etc. In secondary metabolism, the biosynthetic steps, substrates, and products are characteristics of families and species. They are too specific to the species. Species which are taxonomically close display greater similarities. Those which are distant have greater differences. Means species have the same type of the secondary metabolites, but maybe affect number of factors or the uh, secondary metabolites or the chemical nature of the secondary metabolites. Means geographical diversity may influence or the uh, species, ultimately you can say, or the chemical nature of the secondary metabolites. So there are so many functions of secondary metabolites. The most common roles of secondary compounds in plants are ecological roles that govern interactions between plants and other organisms. Many secondary compounds are brightly colored pigments like anthocyanin that color flower red and blue. These attract pollinators and fruit and seed dispensers. Nicotine and other compounds may protect the plants from herbivores and microbes. Other secondary compounds like rubber and tetrahydrocannabinol from cannabis plant have no known function in plants. Friends, secondary metabolites actually excretory or the waste products or the substances of plants, but secondary metabolite possesses a role mainly as uh, ecological roles, means for the defense purpose. The secondary metabolites, they're playing role in plants, just give protection to plants from herbivores and microbes because of the secondary metabolites have typical same smell in some plants. Example, nicotine have a typical smell or nauseating odor, and itself toxic in nature, so that's why easily herbivores or other animals or microbes, so they may not use the plants containing nicotine as a feed. So indirectly, due to the secondary metabolites protection, their natural protection may develop in their body. And different anthocyanin pigments responsible for the colors or different shades to the different parts, mainly flower, okay, in the plant. So that's why these colors help to attract insects and some other pollinators for the pollination, means indirectly help the secondary metabolites for their generations or for the propagations. Then other secondary compounds like rubber and the tetrahydrocannabinol, so have no any functions, it not known their function in plants, but these are deposited in the cell sap or in the vacuoles in the cell, and these are the waste products or the end products of the metabolic pathways. So that's why these compounds are called secondary metabolites. So these are secondary compounds. Friends, we'll see difference between primary metabolites and secondary metabolites. What is about primary metabolites? Here see the metabolism products that are produced during the growth phase of an organism in order to perform the physiological functions and supports in overall development of the cell are called primary metabolites. Without primary metabolites, plants cannot grow, they cannot survive. In short, primary metabolites are essential for the development, growth, and even for the survival of the plant. While secondary metabolites are the end products of primary metabolism that are synthesized after the growth phase has been completed and are important in ecological and other activities of the cell are known as secondary metabolites. Already we have discussed about secondary metabolites. These are excretory substances. They are playing their role as a ecological and other activities in the other activities of the cell as a defense or um, for the providing color shades, means for pollination, just to attract pollinating agents. So these types of the roles of the secondary metabolites, and these intermediate compounds or the products, those are produces in metabolic pathways, so they possesses their therapeutic properties or in means to treat diseases or disorders in human being. So that's why here mainly focus over the secondary metabolites as medicine. Second difference of primary and secondary metabolites. Primary metabolites, also known as trophophage, and secondary metabolites is also called iodophase. Third difference, primary metabolites mainly occurs at their growth phase, and while stationary metabolism metabolites occurs at their stationary phase. Next difference, primary metabolism metabolites are produced in large quantities and their extraction is easy, while secondary metabolites are produced in small quantities and their extraction is very difficult and tedious. Primary metabolites found same in every species, which means they produce the same products chemically, even physically, means all these properties are the same of the primary metabolites found in different species, but nature of secondary metabolites are varies in different species. Primary metabolites are used in industries for various purposes, while secondary metabolites such as antibiotics, gibberellins are also important, and they are indirectly support the cell in sustaining life for long duration. Means for the protection purpose or for the survival purpose, secondary metabolites are essential, but primary metabolites are essential for their growth and development. Means without them, plants cannot survive or even cannot live. So, primary products play their significant role in the cell growth, reproduction, and development in the plants. Example of primary metabolites: vitamins, carbohydrates, proteins, and lipids. While example of secondary metabolites: phenolic, steroids, essential oils, alkaloids, steroids. So many hundreds or thousands of examples of secondary metabolites. We'll see detail about these primary and secondary metabolites and how they develop or synthesizes in plant body. So we'll see detail about these metabolites through the study of different pathways like Sechemic acid pathways, malonic acetate pathways, amino acid pathways in next lecture. Thank you very much.